Today marks a year that Evan Gershkovich has been in Russian prison. Evan is an innocent journalist who was going about his lawful work in Russia when he was detained by Vladimir Putin's security services, and he's been in custody ever since. Most of that time, he's been held in Moscow's notorious Lefortovo prison, which is run by the intelligence services, a Stalin-era KGB prison. Evan is a journalist. Journalism is not a crime, and it is a travesty that it has come this far, this long, that he spent so much of his life behind bars simply for doing his job, for trying to do the job which all of us try to do, which is to tell the stories of our time. Today, we're taking this opportunity to reiterate our calls, the calls that we make every day to free Evan, to end this injustice. He's been put through the mill of the Russian legal system, appearing in various court appearances in Moscow. He's appealed against his pre-trial detention, simply trying to get bail, what we would understand as bail, but that has been denied to him.
This verdict to further prolong Evan's detention feels particularly painful, as this week marks the one-year anniversary since Evan was arrested and wrongfully detained in Yekaterinburg for simply doing his job as a journalist. The accusations against Evan are categorically untrue. They are not a different interpretation of circumstances. They are fiction.
It's been taken an incredible toll on Evan, and yet on the occasions when we see him in court, he still manages to muster a smile. His parents are in communication with him. He does receive and write letters. He gets visits from his lawyers and from the American embassy, but there's no point really trying to sugarcoat what is an appalling injustice being inflicted on an innocent person by Vladimir Putin's regime.
I'm sure you can imagine this has been a really difficult year for our family. It's just a lot of uncertainty, and we just have to take it day by day. But out of standing here at 1 year, I've been reflecting a lot.
There has been an expressed willingness to do a trade of some sort, which simultaneously gives you two immediate feelings if you're in our position. One is, well, thank God there's at least interest to do a trade on the other side. And then, of course, immediately followed with how despicable that we're talking about doing a trade for a journalist who's doing their work and is a good, decent human being in exchange for somebody who's been convicted as a criminal in a foreign country. So it's quite a difficult business, this business of trading humans, but that's kind of where we are.
Evan and I arrived in London kind of a similar time, and I immediately noticed just this sort of vibrant, smiley, energetic guy walking around the office in New Balance and one of like 2 sweaters every single day, just bond as I think most anyone does, just bonded with him really quickly. He's super curious. He's fun. He's constantly laughing, interrupting with jokes, and sort of finishing your sentences. And he's I would say incredibly intellectually curious. We'd go out for beers and just kind of talk about journalism, talk about current events, and he has a million thoughts on everything.
And he seemed to have adapted well to life in London and became a fan of Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah. He's since young, football was his main sport. I think he's been an Arsenal fan for many, many years. He went to a couple games here in his brief time here. Still watches from recaps when he can from prison, actually, in Russia.
That's amazing. And Do you think, I know the Arsenal fans on 2 occasions have held up supportive banners for him. Do you know if he saw that from?
Yeah, he was thrilled, as far as we understand. I think that's everyone's dream, and he got it relayed to him through letters and photos from friends. But I know he's still watching intently the results of the Champions League. As a journalist, he's a sort of fantastic young talent. I mean, he has this real commitment to the theory behind what we're doing in the public service in a way you don't always hear from a lot of journalists. Like he remembers it's important, we need to sort of tell the story so the West knows, the U.S. knows, and that was kind of like ringing in his head constantly. He's a kid from New Jersey, but raised by Soviet emigres, and when he moved there in 2017, he really kind of fell in love with the place, and he was fascinated by it. He was sort of always talking to us about life there, reporting there, and he loved the story. I mean, just tracking Putin and the government and sort of the people. You can see that in his stories. He was always good at finding sort of real people. He was finding things like grave diggers in some of these towns where dead soldiers are going back to. So it was the posting of a lifetime for him.
We condemn the detention of Mr. Gershkovich in the strongest terms. We also condemn the Russian government's continued targeting and repression of journalists.
The day he was captured and it became news, I just remember, first hearing it early in the morning, and then it was just very surreal. But then by the afternoon, I looked up in the newsroom here, and they have all these TVs with all these different stations, and they were all showing photos of Evan. So I think it's rightfully so. It resonates because it's a huge attack on sort of a value of democracy, a central value.
How will he be coping with incarceration?
He's probably one of the more capable people I know to be imprisoned. As far as I understand, he's doing okay. You can even see in his monthly court appearances, he's flickering smiles. There's a great photo of him turning to a Russian soldier in a balaclava and with a big grin on his face, presumably telling a joke or receiving one. So I don't think he's happy. I know he wants to be back, but he's not a wreck of a human, as I think probably I would and a lot of people would be. It should strike fear in every journalist and member of the public in any democracy. Evan was doing nothing wrong. He was a fully accredited journalist. He just received reaccreditation and was just reporting a story for the Journal when he was detained and now held hostage.
All of us, not just at The Sun, but across the company and across newspapers around the world, are calling for Russia to free Evan.